I pushed the chair back, my hands trembling slightly. Dinner smelled like roasted chicken and disappointment. Ethan was laughing across the table, proud as if he owned the world. "Pass the potatoes, Ethan," Mom said softly. "Not to me, just him." "I already got them," he said, grinning. I stayed quiet. Tried to remind myself that I wasn't supposed to eat anything else, wasn't supposed to take more than my share. "Ryan," Dad said, his voice cutting through the clatter of forks, "don't stare. Eat." I clenched my jaw. "Yes, sir," I muttered, barely audible. "Sir?" Ethan snorted. "You act like a kid who's never been allowed to speak." Mom's lips pressed together. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Don't start, Ethan," Dad warned, not even looking at me. "Ryan, remember your place." I remember that phrase clearly, like it's etched in my chest. My place. Their words made me small. Invisible. "Why can't I have the name?" I asked suddenly, my voice sharper than I meant. Mom froze. Dad looked up from his plate, eyes hard. Ethan blinked, confused. "You know why," Dad said. "You haven't earned it. Family name isn't given to those who don't carry it properly." "I'm your son," I said, anger rising like a tide. "I grew up in this house. I've done everything right." "You were never meant to have it," Dad said, calm and cold. "That's your reality." I stared at my plate, wanting the ground to swallow me. My hands shook so badly I spilled gravy on my napkin. "You don't get it," I said, voice tight. "It's not just a name. It's respect. It's recognition. It's everything in this town. And I can't even." "Ryan," Mom interrupted, soft but firm. "Please. Don't." "Don't what?" I demanded. "I'm tired of being invisible. Ethan gets praised for everything and I—" "Stop comparing," she said, looking away. "I'm not comparing. I'm telling the truth." I slammed my fork down. The sound echoed in the quiet dining room. Ethan's grin faltered. "Why do you care so much? You'll get over it. You always do." "No," I said. "I won't. Not this time." Dad's fork paused midair. He looked at me like I'd grown into someone he didn't recognize. "Careful, Ryan. You speak out of line again and you'll regret it." I laughed, bitter and hollow. "Out of line? You made the line. You decided I wasn't worth your name before I even asked for it." "You'll learn respect one day," Dad said, his voice low, dangerous. "I respect you?" I spat the words. "You don't even respect me as your son." Mom gasped. Ethan leaned back in his chair, eyes wide. "You're being dramatic," Dad said. "Dinner is not a place for arguments." "I'm not arguing," I said. "I'm stating facts. You don't see me. You never have. Ethan's your golden boy and I'm nothing. I'm just here." There was silence. Heavy, suffocating. Mom dabbed at her eyes quickly, pretending she wasn't crying. Dad stared at his plate, not saying a word. Ethan, usually full of jokes and arrogance, finally spoke softly. "I didn't know you felt that way." "Of course you didn't," I said, voice trembling. "You've always had everything handed to you. You don't know what it feels like to be invisible, to be unwanted in your own house." Mom swallowed. "Ryan." "No, Mom," I said. "Don't. I needed this family name. I needed to be seen. But you, both of you, you refused. It's not discipline. It's rejection." Dad's hand twitched slightly. He opened his mouth, closed it again. Ethan looked down at his plate, pale. "You don't understand yet," Dad said finally. "This is for your own good. You'll thank us someday." "I doubt it," I muttered, pushing back my chair. "I don't think I ever will." I left the table quietly, but my chest felt like it would explode. Every step toward my room carried weight I couldn't shake. Their voices followed me, the half apologies, the cold warnings. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. Who am I, if not the son they allowed? Who am I, if I can't even carry their name? I clenched my fist. My anger burned hot and sharp, filling the empty spaces they'd left in me. Maybe one day, I thought, I won't need their name. I'll make my own. And it will be stronger than anything they can give or take. The shame, the silence, the invisible walls around me, they weren't discipline. They were rejection. And rejection, I realized, could either break me or make me unbreakable. I was walking past Dad's study when I heard it, voices I wasn't supposed to hear. "Ethan's ready," Dad said, low and certain. "He'll take over everything. The company, the estate, the legacy. It's time." I froze. "What do you mean, everything?" "You weren't meant to inherit it," Dad continued, as if I wasn't even there. "He doesn't carry our blood the right way." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. My chest tightened. My knees nearly buckled. I stepped inside. "Dad." What did you just say? He turned slowly, eyes narrowed. I said what I said, Ryan. It's final. I swallowed, trying to keep my voice steady. You're giving everything to Ethan? What about me? I'm your son. You're not ready, he said. You never were. Ethan is prepared. He has the discipline, the mind for this. I laughed, bitter and raw. Discipline? Or favoritism? You've never seen me as capable. Not once. You've treated me like a shadow. Mom's voice trembled from the doorway. Ryan, please don't. Don't what? I snapped. I need to hear this. You're handing the life I should have to him, and you're asking me to stay quiet? Ethan leaned against the wall, his face pale but smug. Ryan, I don't want this to hurt you, okay? I shook my head, disbelief cutting through me. Don't want it to hurt me? You're taking everything. Our family name, the business, the respect we were supposed to earn together, and you pretend it doesn't matter. I didn't ask for it, Ethan stammered, but his eyes betrayed excitement. You liked it. You really did. Didn't ask for it? I said, voice rising. You've wanted this since day one. You've waited for me to be weak, for them to choose you over me. And now it's finally your turn. Dad's hand twitched. Ryan, calm down. You're overreacting. Overreacting? I shouted. You just admitted that I'm nothing. That all these years my place here was irrelevant. That's not overreacting, Dad. That's betrayal. Mom turned away, wiping her eyes. I can't change it, she whispered. You can't or you won't? I demanded. Because this isn't discipline. This isn't tough love. This is rejection. Pure rejection. And Ethan, I paused, choking on the words. Ethan, you knew this would happen, didn't you? I didn't know it would hurt you this much, he said softly. I shook my head. You always knew. You smiled at every opportunity, counting the moments until you could take it all. And now here we are. You have it and I'm left with nothing. Dad's jaw tightened. Ryan, enough. This isn't a discussion anymore. The decision is final. Ethan will lead. You. I'm done, I said, cutting him off. I'm done asking. I'm done hoping. I'm done begging for a place that was never mine to begin with. Mom gasped, stepping closer. Ryan, please. Don't go. Just, let's talk. I've heard enough, I said. My voice was quiet now but sharp like a blade. All I needed was for you to see me. To recognize me as your son. You never did. So I'm leaving. And when I come back, it won't be to beg for scraps. I'll come back with my own name. My own power. And it will eclipse this one. Ethan's eyes widened. Ryan, wait. No, Ethan, I said. You've had your turn. I'm done being the boy you overshadowed. I'm done being your second choice. Mom fell to her knees, crying openly now. Ryan, I never. Never what? I asked, voice breaking but steady. Loved me? Wanted me? Considered me? I don't need your words anymore. I'll find my worth myself. Dad looked at me, rage and regret flickering across his face, but he said nothing. Ethan tried to reach out, but I stepped back. I grabbed my coat from the hook by the door. Goodbye. Forever, maybe. The house felt smaller as I walked out, the walls heavy with everything they had denied me. Their voices called after me, weak and pleading, but I didn't stop. I didn't look back. On the street, the cold wind hit my face, and for the first time I felt alive. Every step away from them burned with anger, with clarity. If they won't give me their name, I thought, tightening my fists, I'll erase its power. I'll build something stronger. Something they can't touch. And I won't beg. I won't hope. I'll make them see that denying me only created a storm they never imagined. I shoved my last bag into the trunk of a beat-up rental and slammed the door. The air smelled like rain and asphalt, but it felt better than the suffocating walls of my house. My phone buzzed, flashing messages from Mom and Ethan. I ignored them. Don't even look, I muttered to myself. They don't deserve it. The first night I slept in a cheap motel, I curled up on a narrow bed with a scratchy blanket. I listened to the hum of the radiator and thought about everything I'd lost. They think I'm nothing, I whispered to the empty room. Like I'm invisible. Like I've never mattered. The next morning, I wandered the streets with no real plan, just a fire burning inside me. Hunger gnawed at my stomach, but anger gnawed louder. Damn it, I muttered, kicking a trash can lid. I'll show them. I'll make them see me. I passed a small repair shop, its windows fogged with grease. A bell jingled when I pushed the door open. Yeah, a rough voice called. I need work, I said. The man emerged from behind the counter. He was older, hair peppered with gray, arms thick and strong. You need work or you need excuses? He asked. I have work, I said. Good answer, he said, sizing me up. Name? Ryan, I said, voice low. Ryan who? I hesitated. Ryan, doesn't matter. He laughed. Don't matter? Everyone matters if they can handle themselves. You can handle yourself? Yes, I said a little too quickly. All right then, he said. I'm Marcus. You start today. Learn fast or you're out. Simple. I nodded, too proud to admit how grateful I felt. For the first time, someone didn't care about who my father was or what my last name meant. They cared about me here and now. The first week was brutal. Marcus yelled more than he taught. You call that tightening a bolt? You're going to strip the engine if you keep that up. I'll fix it, I said, trying not to let frustration show. You will or you won't last, he barked. At night, I counted every penny, bought the cheapest meals, and ignored my buzzing phone. Mom's texts, pleading. Ethan's, mocking. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I have nothing, I told myself, pacing the tiny room above the shop. Nothing but this anger. Nothing but this fire. But slowly the fire began to warm me instead of burning me. I started remembering what it felt like to be proud of myself. Not for a name, not for a title, but for me. One evening, Marcus leaned against the counter, watching me scrub a greasy engine part. You got grit, kid, he said. I'm just doing my job, I muttered, wiping sweat from my brow. You do more than that. You're here facing it. Most kids with a family like yours would complain, beg, or run home crying. I didn't choose this, I said quietly. I didn't ask to be left out. Marcus shrugged. Life doesn't care about what you choose. You survive or you don't. You've got to want it more than anything else. I nodded. His words stung, but they cut through the anger in a good way. I'm done being invisible, I said, more to myself than him. You'll get there, Marcus said, not softening, just matter of fact. Hard work is louder than a name. You'll learn that. Days turned into weeks. My muscles ached, my hands were calloused, and my pride started to grow quietly. I began to look at the world differently. No one owed me anything. No one. At night I still thought of my parents, of Ethan. But the thought didn't hurt as much. It fueled me instead. I'll make something of myself, I said aloud one night, lying on the hard cot above the shop. And when I do, they'll see. They'll all see. I don't need their approval. Marcus peeked in, raising an eyebrow. Talking to yourself now, huh? Just reminding myself, I said, smiling faintly. You'll be okay, kid. Keep that fire, but don't let it consume you. I nodded. For the first time, I felt like a man who could survive on his own, who could build something from nothing. Anger had been my spark, but determination became my fuel. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. I wiped my hands on a rag and stepped back, staring at the half-fixed engine. The gears finally clicked into place. Not bad, Marcus said from across the shop, arms crossed. You're getting the hang of it. I still stripped 2 bolts, I admitted. He shrugged. Better than last week. Keep it up. Learn from it. I nodded, swallowing the pride that wanted to burst out of me. Every day I woke early, stayed late, and made mistakes that burned in my hands and head. But I kept going. You don't ask for sympathy, I said aloud, tightening another bolt. No, Marcus said. I don't give it. You either handle it or you don't. You've got potential, but whining won't get you anywhere. I laughed quietly. Good thing I hate whining. Marcus smirked. Good. Keep that fire. It'll matter when you're facing something bigger than engines. Later, I was at the cafe across the street, counting receipts and planning my next week. A woman slid into the seat opposite me without asking. You're Ryan, right? She asked, sharp and precise. Yes, I said, startled. Can I help you? I'm Claire, she said. I consult for small businesses. I noticed how dedicated you are, and I think you're wasting your focus on repair work alone. I'm not wasting it, I said. I'm learning. Discipline. Patience. Grit. She raised an eyebrow. Discipline is fine. Patience too. But grit without direction is like running in circles. You need strategy, not just strength. I don't need advice, I said quickly, but her calm tone made me pause. I just need to work. Working is fine, she said, folding her hands. But you'll burn yourself out if you don't balance it with planning. Success without healing turns into poison, Ryan. You don't want that. I'll manage, I said, ignoring the caution in her voice. I didn't need anyone telling me how to survive. I needed results. You're stubborn, she said, half amused, half serious. Good. But stubborn alone won't build you an empire. Think ahead. Even a little. I've got my plan, I said, voice low. I'm not asking for luck. I'll make it myself. Claire studied me for a long moment. Fine. But remember, your mind is as important as your hands. Don't forget it. I nodded, though I didn't really listen. My mind was already racing ahead. That night, I sat on the cot above the shop, staring at my reflection in the window. The city lights were blurred like they belonged to someone else. I've come a long way, I whispered to myself. From nothing, from rejection. From being invisible. I pulled out my laptop and looked up the legal name change process. I typed the new name slowly, savoring every letter. Not to rebel against my parents, but to start over clean. Ryan, no more shadows, I murmured. Just me. Me and what I'll build. A week later, Marcus tossed me a wrench as I struggled with a stubborn engine. What are you doing? He barked. Fixing it, I said. You're overthinking. Hands first, mind second. You're thinking like a boss, not a worker. I smiled faintly. Maybe I am. Maybe I need to think like both. You'll get there, Marcus said, shaking his head. Just don't let ego ruin the work. I nodded, wiping sweat from my forehead. Every mistake I made taught me something new. Every failure made me sharper. One evening, Claire stopped by the shop again. I see the progress, she said. Impressive. You're not just working hard, you're thinking strategically now. That hunger isn't wasted. Thanks, I said. I've got something to prove. To myself. Just don't let it consume you, she warned again. Success without peace will destroy you. I'll survive, I said, smiling faintly. And then I'll thrive. She studied me, thoughtful, and left without another word. I didn't need her approval. I just needed results. Weeks turned into months. I started taking small contracts, fixing more complex machinery. Word spread about a young man who worked harder, smarter, and faster than most experienced mechanics. Every paycheck felt like fuel. Every solved problem felt like a victory. Every small client impressed me with trust and respect I had never felt from my family. At night, lying on my cot, I thought about my parents, about Ethan, about the life I'd been denied. It didn't hurt as much anymore. Instead, it pushed me. It reminded me of why I couldn't stop. I'm building something bigger than I was, I whispered to the ceiling. Something they can't touch. Something no one can take away. And for the first time in years, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Not at a table of cold words and half-hearted praise, but here, in the middle of sweat, mistakes, and progress. I had nothing once. Now I had fire. I had discipline. I had control over myself. And I knew deep down that this was only the beginning. I sat in my office, feet on the desk, laptop open, scrolling through the latest business news. My company's growth chart blinked across the screen. Revenue up 25% this quarter. Clients praising our turnaround strategies. I allowed myself a quiet smile. Impressive, Claire said, leaning against the doorframe. You've built something they can't ignore anymore. I didn't do it to impress anyone, I said, sipping my coffee. I did it because I had to prove it to myself. Still, she said, the timing of this, perfect. Your parents are going to see this. I raised an eyebrow. You think they're watching? I know they are, Claire said, matter of fact. People always notice when a name rises above the one they dismissed. Especially your kind of parents. I leaned back, imagining their faces. Dad's eyes wide, trying to hide shock. Mom biting her lip, pretending not to cry. Ethan, pale, fumbling with his phone, realizing he's been left behind. Imagine the calls, Claire said, a slight smirk on her face. Ethan's probably typing a message even now. I laughed quietly. He's late. He always is. Do you plan to answer? She asked. No, I said firmly. Not this time. He ignored me for years. Dad refused to see me. Mom pretended everything was fine. I won't respond to pity or envy. Marcus walked in, wiping his hands on a rag. Morning, Ryan. You're glowing. I suppose success has that effect, I said. Marcus chuckled. Not glowing. You're radiating control. Years ago you were just angry, bitter, lost. Now, you're unstoppable. I leaned forward, resting my chin on my hands. It's been a long road. Harder than anything I imagined. You earned it, Marcus said. Every bolt, every late night, every mistake, it all led here. And trust me, no one can take it away. Except maybe my parents, I muttered. I wonder what they think when they hear my name on the news. Marcus shrugged. You've already surpassed them. They'll feel it. That's enough. Claire joined me by the window. It's funny, she said. They never thought you'd amount to anything. And now your name is everywhere. People respect it. People fear it, maybe. But most of all, people see you. I can't wait to see their faces, I admitted softly, though I wouldn't really see them. I wonder if Dad will admit what he said all those years ago, that I wasn't ready, that I didn't deserve the family name. You don't need that acknowledgement, Claire said. You've outgrown it. Your name isn't tied to theirs anymore. You built it on your own. The phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Unknown number. Ethan. I didn't pick up. Didn't even let the screen light my face. I knew it, Claire said. He's reaching out now. Desperation. Envy. Recognition too late. Too late, I said, voice cold but steady. I'll let him stew. Let him see how far behind he is. Marcus nodded. That's how it works. People who ignore you, dismiss you, they always notice when the tables turn. But by then you're already ahead. You don't need to do anything to prove it further. I stared at the screen, imagining Dad pacing in his study. His jaw tight, fists clenched. Mom wringing her hands, sighing. Ethan probably muttering under his breath. Why didn't I get there first? Do you feel satisfied? Claire asked quietly. Not satisfied, I admitted. I feel liberated. I've been invisible for years. Ignored, underestimated. Now I don't need their approval. I just exist on my terms. And that's power enough. You've built more than a company, Claire said. You've built identity. Respect. Proof that they were wrong without saying a word to them. I nodded. It's a quiet revenge. Not humiliation. Not confrontation. Just undeniable results. The power shift is happening but silently. And that feels perfect. Marcus clapped a hand on my shoulder. You've learned discipline. You've learned patience. And now you've learned leverage without losing integrity. That's rare, Ryan. Don't forget it. I won't, I said. Every sleepless night, every scar on my hands, every failed project, they all led here. To this moment. My moment. Their regret is just background noise now. The phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Probably Ethan again. I smiled faintly, ignoring it. Let him try. Let them all watch. I don't need to answer. I just need to keep building. Claire nodded, satisfied. And you will. Faster, smarter, stronger than ever. I looked out the window, the city glowing under the setting sun. For the first time I felt untouchable, not arrogant, just complete. Yes, I whispered. They'll know my name soon enough. And it won't belong to anyone else. Not them, not Ethan, not anyone. Just me. The room was silent, except for the hum of the computers and the distant city sounds. But inside me, a quiet storm of triumph raged, and I welcomed it. The phone rang late in the afternoon. I was reviewing quarterly reports, the numbers reflecting the growth I'd built from nothing. The screen flashed a number I hadn't seen in years. Hello, I said cautiously. Ryan, Dad's voice came through, quieter than I remembered. Hesitant. Small. Richard, I said, keeping my tone neutral. It's been a long time. Yes, it has, he admitted. There was no warmth in it, just tension. We need your help. I leaned back, blinking. Excuse me? The company, he said, voice faltering. Ethan, he's struggling. Things are falling apart. You're the only one who can stabilize it. I felt a strange thrill. Not happiness, not anger yet, just a pulse of power. You mean after everything? After you refused to see me, after you gave everything to him? I know he stopped himself. There was no apology. None. Just a hollow attempt at explanation. I don't care about past, we need your expertise. I see, I said slowly. And you expect me to drop everything and fix what he broke? Yes, he said simply. We can't manage it without you. I hung up before he could say more. My hands shook slightly. Claire looked up from across the office. That sounded tense, she said. It was, I admitted. My father wants me to save the company Ethan destroyed. And he's not even saying sorry. That's a lot to handle, Claire said, frowning. Do you want to do it? I don't know, I said, staring at the phone. My fingers hovered over the screen, itching to dial again. I thought of Ethan's smug face, my parents' cold dinners, their words denying me the name I should have carried. You're conflicted, Claire said. Do you want revenge? Or do you want closure? Maybe both, I whispered. Maybe neither. I just want to do this my way. Marcus walked in, arms crossed. You can help if you want. Or you can let them drown. Your choice. But remember, you don't owe them anything. Not one word, not 1 minute. I know, I said. But I also know that this is the chance to show them what they lost. Quietly, I drove to the family headquarters later that evening. The streets felt heavier, the city darker. I hadn't been here in years. The building loomed over me, familiar and foreign at the same time. Dad met me at the entrance. He was older, hair grayer, shoulders slumped. He looked nervous, unsure. I remembered when he used to tower over me. Now he looked small. "Ryan," he said, voice low. "Thank you for coming." I studied him. No apology. Not even a hint of regret. "I'm here. That's all you get." Mom appeared behind him, eyes wide. "Ryan." I didn't expect. "I expected nothing," I said, stepping past them. The air between us felt colder than any winter night I'd known. We entered the boardroom. Ethan was already there, fidgeting with papers, looking smaller than I remembered. "Ryan," he began, but I held up a hand. "No introductions," I said. "We don't have time for niceties. Tell me what's broken." He swallowed, voice wavering. "The contracts, we lost clients. The cash flow, it's—" "I see," I said. "And you didn't think to call me sooner?" I thought I could handle it," Ethan admitted. "I didn't want to bother you." "You didn't want to bother me?" I said, incredulous. "You ignored me for years and now you claim consideration?" Dad cleared his throat. "Ryan, please. Focus on the problem. We don't have time for—" "I'm focused," I said, voice sharp. "I'm always focused. Let's get to work. Tell me everything that went wrong, step by step, or this company will collapse before the week is over." Hours passed. I asked questions, demanded reports, corrected mistakes, guided the team through the chaos. Ethan faltered constantly. Dad and Mom exchanged glances, silent and uncomfortable. I didn't look at them. I didn't need to. At the end of the day, I stood at the window watching the skyline light up. Marcus's words echoed in my head. "You don't owe them anything." "They're watching," Claire said quietly beside me. "They know. And they're scared." "I see it," I said, voice low. "But they still won't say what I need. Still won't admit they were wrong. Still won't acknowledge me." "You'll get that acknowledgement on your terms," Claire said. "I don't want their approval," I said. "I want control. I want them to see that I've risen above their decisions without their help. That's my revenge. Quiet, measured, complete." Marcus clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You're doing more than saving a company, kid. You're reclaiming power without losing yourself. That's rare." I nodded. "This isn't closure yet. But it's a start." I turned back to the team. "Tomorrow we begin restructuring. We fix this properly. No shortcuts. No excuses. And I make sure that when this is done, no one can deny who built it back up." Ethan's face paled. Dad swallowed hard. Mom bit her lip. I didn't say another word. And for the first time in years, I felt like the one in control. The conference room felt smaller than it used to. The same table, the same walls, but the air was different. Tension thickened every corner. I walked in, calm, measured. "Ryan," Dad said, his voice low, almost pleading. We want to correct our mistake. We want to give you the family name. You deserve it." I took a seat, folding my hands. "You want to give it to me now?" I asked, voice steady, almost neutral. "Yes," Mom said softly. "After everything, after Ethan's failures. We realize now, you should have had it all along." I nodded slowly, thinking of the years of cold dinners, empty praise for Ethan, silent rejection. I thought of sleepless nights at the shop, of Claire and Marcus pushing me, of every bolt I tightened with sweat and anger. "I appreciate the offer," I said carefully. "But I don't need it. I already built something stronger. Something you can't take away and something I won't borrow from anyone." Dad's face went pale. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Mom's lips trembled. Ethan looked like he might burst. "Wait," Ethan finally said, voice cracking. "Are you saying you won't take it? After everything we've done?" "I'm saying exactly that," I replied calmly. "I don't need your name to prove myself. I've already proven it with my work, my choices, and my life. That's enough for me. You're abandoning us." Ethan shouted, his hands slamming the table. "After we raised you, after we tried, you're just walking away." I leaned forward, voice steady but firm. "Ethan, don't twist this. You never stood up for me. You enjoyed having everything while I was dismissed. You never noticed, never cared. I'm not abandoning anything. I'm leaving behind what was never mine in the first place." I thought we were a family," Ethan whispered, voice trembling now. "We were," I said, softer this time. But family doesn't mean ignoring someone, belittling them, or handing everything to someone else while pretending they're important. Family means respect. You never gave me that. Not one time. Mom's eyes glistened. Ryan, No, I said gently, raising a hand. You don't get to speak those words now. Apologies wouldn't change the years you ignored me, the moments you chose him over me. I needed that name when it mattered. You refused. I'm done asking. Dad's jaw tightened. Ryan, please, Please nothing, I said, standing. I don't need anything from you. Not your approval. Not your name. Not your recognition. Ethan buried his face in his hands. You're leaving? After all this? Yes, I said, voice calm. I'm walking away with everything you refused to give me years ago. Strength, respect, power built on my own terms. Not yours. Not borrowed. Not borrowed from the mistakes of your family. Do you even understand what you're doing? Dad asked, voice low, almost pleading. I understand perfectly, I replied. I'm reclaiming myself. I'm leaving behind the shame, the dismissal, the years of being invisible. And I'm taking the life I've built, the name I chose, and the future I earned. That's what matters. Mom opened her mouth again, but I shook my head. No. Save your words. I've heard enough from all of you. Your remorse, your desperation, it changes nothing. I built my life on my own. That is proof enough. That is my name. Ethan looked up at me, tears in his eyes. I can't believe this. I thought we were a team. You're just leaving us behind. You never gave me the chance to be part of your team, I said softly. You never supported me, never recognized me. You can't accuse me of leaving something I was never allowed to join. The room was silent. Cold, quiet, heavy. Their faces, Dad's regretful stare, Mom's trembling lips, Ethan's broken expression, burned into my memory. I didn't feel triumph, just clarity. This ends it, I said, taking a slow breath. I don't need your name. I don't need your validation. I built more than you could ever give me, and I will continue to build it, without resentment, without begging, without you. I turned to the door. My coat brushed against the chair as I walked out. The sound of my footsteps echoed, steady, unshakable. Behind me, I imagined their faces, frozen in disbelief. Their desperation, their regret, it didn't matter anymore. I didn't look back. Outside, the air felt clean, sharp. I felt the years of anger, rejection, and dismissal settle into something solid, something strong. I didn't feel the need to shout, to yell, to demand acknowledgement. I didn't need to prove myself to anyone. I had built a life of my own. A name of my own. A future of my own. And that was enough. I walked away with dignity, my past left behind, my future waiting. I sat in my office overlooking the city, the sunlight reflecting off the glass walls. My name was on the headlines again, this time tied to a deal that doubled our company's reach. I kept my coffee warm in my hands, but I didn't sip. I was watching, quietly, without a single cheer. Ryan, the news just reported Ethan's company lost another major client, Claire said, stepping into the room. They're bleeding credibility fast. I leaned back in my chair, voice calm. I saw. It's unfortunate for them. Unfortunate? She asked, raising an eyebrow. You're watching the people who ignored you, dismissed you, and failed to recognize your worth, fall apart. Don't you feel anything? I shook my head slowly. No, not really. I feel free. Free from the burden of their choices, free from the expectation that I needed them to validate me. That's all. Claire frowned. You're not even a little satisfied? I smiled faintly. Satisfaction implies revenge. I don't need revenge. I didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. I just built a life that proved it didn't matter what they did. Marcus appeared behind her, arms crossed, watching me. Exactly. You didn't act out of anger or spite. You acted out of growth. That's rare. Most people would have made this personal. I didn't need to, I said quietly. They gave me my reasons. Every neglect, every dismissal, every cold dinner, every word they never said, it all pushed me. But I didn't seek to punish them. I just sought to live. Claire walked closer, leaning on the edge of my desk. You're calm about it, but I can tell. You're powerful now. Their failures are a reflection of their choices, not yours. Exactly, I said. And the city knows it. The contracts, the deals, the reputation, they see me, not them. That's the only justice I need. I still think you should feel a little joy, she said, smirking. Not revenge. Just acknowledgement that they're finally facing consequences for ignoring you. I considered that. Maybe. But joy implies emotion tied to them. I don't want that. I want freedom from them, not triumph over them. I've been weighed down long enough by their absence, their neglect. I don't need closure, they gave me mine without trying. Marcus chuckled softly. You've learned what most never do. Karma isn't about actively making them suffer. Karma is watching the results of their own choices unfold while you move forward. I see it, I said, scanning the headlines again. Ethan's company tanked another stock value. Mom's old investments are in turmoil. Dad's reputation is faltering. The town that once whispered my failures now whispers his. Claire tilted her head. You're not celebrating their mistakes, you're observing them. That's impressive. Most people would be screaming in triumph. I shook my head. I don't need to scream. I don't need to prove anything to them. That time is gone. I'm not holding grudges. I'm just existing on my own terms finally. Marcus nodded. That's wisdom, Ryan. You didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. And now you're free to grow without baggage. That's rare and beautiful. I stared out at the horizon, thinking about every moment that led me here. Nights sleeping in cheap motels, hours scrubbing engines, Claire's warnings, Marcus's blunt lessons. Every scar, every failure, every sleepless night, it culminated in this. Claire leaned back, arms crossed. And you'll keep rising, right? Even higher. Yes, I said, voice steady. I'll keep building, keep growing. Not for revenge, not to prove them wrong, but because I finally get to. Because my life belongs to me. My name belongs to me. And that's more than enough. Powerful, she said quietly, a faint smile on her lips. It's not power in the way they think, I said. It's peace, control, freedom. I don't need the family name. I never did. I built something stronger. Something enduring. The sun shifted, casting golden light across the city skyline. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the years of anger and rejection settle into something solid and calm. My phone buzzed with congratulatory messages from clients, colleagues, and new partners. I didn't need to glance at them. I already knew my worth. Claire watched me, saying nothing for a moment. Then softly, "You're free, Ryan? Truly free?" "Yes," I said, voice low. "I am." And watching them falter slowly. I don't need to celebrate. I just watch. And live my life. That's enough. That's all I ever wanted. Marcus placed a hand on my shoulder. You've come a long way. More than anyone could imagine. And it's all because you never let their rejection define you. You define yourself. I nodded, the weight of years lifting. Exactly. And that will never be taken from me. Never. I turned my gaze back to the skyline. The city stretched endlessly before me. And for the first time in my life I felt complete. No anger. No need for revenge. Just freedom. I exhaled slowly, letting it all settle. The family name had lost its power, while mine, earned, built, chosen, continued to rise. And I didn't need to lift a finger. Karma had worked itself out. I stood in my office, hands resting on the polished desk. The city skyline stretched beyond the glass like a promise. My name was engraved on the door, Ryan Cole. Not given, not borrowed, not inherited. Earned. Every letter carried years of struggle, nights without sleep, hands calloused, and every quiet moment I had spent building myself from zero. Claire stepped in, holding a folder. It still looks strange, doesn't it? She asked softly. Seeing your name there on the door after everything. I smiled faintly, shaking my head. Not strange. Feels right. It feels mine. You've come a long way, she said, leaning against the desk. You didn't just survive them. You built yourself so high that their opinions don't reach you anymore. That's the point, I said, voice low. I survived. I didn't destroy. I didn't humiliate. I didn't seek revenge. I just kept moving forward. Every bolt I tightened, every deal I closed, every mistake I corrected, it all led here. And it's enough. Marcus appeared behind her, wiping his hands on a rag. You're calm now. I remember the anger. The rage. The nights you wanted to burn everything down. But now, I said quietly, I don't need that. The fire is inside me, yes, but it's focused, controlled, not wasted. The phone buzzed on my desk. I ignored it. Another message flashed. Unknown number. I knew it wasn't urgent. Not anymore. Claire frowned. You're not going to check it? No, I said firmly. Not every call, not every message matters. I've learned to choose what I respond to. I respond to my life, not their chaos. She looked thoughtful, then handed me the folder. This came today. Your mother's handwriting. I took it slowly. The envelope felt heavy. Not because of its weight but because of the words I expected inside. I didn't open it right away. I just held it, feeling the paper between my fingers. "Open it," Claire said gently. "You can decide what it means, but at least read it." I tore the seal, unfolded the letter, and read. Her words were full of regret. "Ryan, I was wrong. I never should have treated you the way I did. Your father and I failed to see the son we had. I can't take back the years. I can't undo the hurt we caused. I hope you find it in your heart to forgive us, even if I cannot ask for your attention. I'm sorry." I set the letter down, calmly, folding it once before placing it back in the folder. My chest didn't ache. My hands didn't tremble. I didn't feel the need to call, to argue, to justify. I had already built a life that answered everything they couldn't. Claire studied me. "You're not angry?" "I was," I admitted quietly. "Angry for years. Bitter. Hurt. But I realized something important. I can't live in their regrets. I can't measure my worth by their recognition. My identity isn't inherited, it's built. And I've built mine." Marcus nodded. "That's the final lesson, Ryan. Not revenge, not confrontation. Survival. And from survival, strength. You've done more than most could dream. And they've done what they've done." I leaned back in my chair, letting the sunlight wash over my face. I understand now. My victory wasn't ruining them. My victory was surviving them, rising above them, and creating a life that doesn't need their validation. That's peace. That's freedom. Claire placed a hand lightly on my shoulder. "And you have it. Complete and absolute." I turned my eyes to the window again. The city pulsed beneath me. My empire was quiet but real. My reputation solid. My name, my own, on every contract, every project, every partnership. I had earned it. Not through their mistakes, not by exposing them, not by tearing them down. I had earned it by being better, by being stronger, by refusing to let their rejection define me. Another message flashed. From Ethan. He was probably trying again. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The past didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the life I had built with my own hands. I remembered my first nights on the street, the cheap motels, the empty phone. I remembered Marcus teaching me to work without complaint, Claire teaching me strategy, and the quiet moments when I realized that my worth wasn't tied to their recognition. Every struggle, every lonely night, every burned muscle and broken bolt, it led here. "I feel complete," I said aloud, almost whispering. Not fulfilled in the way they thought I needed to be. Not triumphant over them. Just whole. Free. Claire smiled softly. "It's rare, Ryan. Most people can't forgive without being told to or survive without bitterness. You've done both." I nodded, eyes scanning the skyline one last time before turning back to my office. "This name, this life, it's mine. Earned, built, chosen. And I'll keep building. I'll keep moving. Not because they finally regret it, not because Ethan fails, not because my parents apologize, but because I can. Because I am free to do so." Marcus rested a hand on my shoulder again. "And that's the greatest power of all. Not vengeance. Not triumph. Freedom. You've claimed it, Ryan. Fully." I exhaled slowly, letting the weight of decades lift. I didn't feel emptiness. I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel regret. I felt quiet strength. I placed the letter back in the folder. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The words had no power over me. My name, my identity, my life, they already did. I leaned back, smiling faintly. "The name finally feels like mine," I whispered. "Not given. Not borrowed. Not expected. Built." The sunlight caught the engraving on the door again. Ryan Cole. My name. My legacy. My peace. I looked out the window, letting the city pulse beneath me, alive and vibrant. And for the first time I felt truly at rest. Not revenge. Not triumph over them. Just survival. Just me. And that was enough.